Another thing about the list view is that you have this pin button. What it does is, for example, if I go back to my upcoming web opportunities, and if I pin this, every time when I come to this opportunities tab, I will see this list view because I have pinned it. If you don't have anything pinned, by default, the recently viewed will be displayed. Okay. And let's say, let me go ahead and pin another opportunity list view. Let's say this time I'm pinning this one. And if I go to leads and then come back to opportunities, what I will see is I will see this one because it has been pinned. So it's your option. You could choose all opportunities to be pinned or other ones. That's your personal choice. I have recently viewed, so I'm going to pin that one. So let's create another list view and talk about the filter logic. For example, I have leads, and my leads, for example, have lead status. Okay, I have lead status. Let's say I want to select all the leads whose status is test score. Okay, whose status is test score, and source is web. Okay, source is web. Create a list view to display leads whose status is test score and source is web. And source is web. Okay, so I go to leads, go to all open leads, for example. Okay, all open leads. And I will clone this one. I will clone this one and modify it. All right. And I'm going to say this is going to be visible only to me. All right. So click save. Sorry, I forgot to change the name. Let's rename this. Leads with web source. That's the name I'm going to give it to it. I cannot change the API name. Once you create it, you cannot change the API name anymore. Let's save this. And then I have to configure my filter. So I'm selecting all the leads, okay? And then I have to adjust my status. This filter, I want to remove this filter because what this filter does is it is not selecting certain leads. It's selecting, because I cloned all open leads, it is ignoring closed leads. So that's why I don't want this, okay? I want to see the closed leads as well as open leads. That's why I deleted that one. I'm going to add new filter, and here I will say lead source equals to web. Done. And then add another filter. I'll say lead source lead source. So not lead source, but lead status, right? Lead status equals test scores. And save. So looks like currently I don't have any lead whose source is web and lead status is test score. So let me go to all open leads, right? And modify one lead record so that the conditions can be met. I'm going to change the lead source is already web, and I'm changing the status to test scores and click save. All right. And then I'll go back to our new list view. Now that record got displayed here because it is meeting the condition. Status is test score and the source is web. I don't see the source column here, but what you can do is you can also adjust this from this select fields to display. You could select your lead source. Let me find that. Source or lead source. Okay, here it is. Let's move it up a little bit and click save. Now we can see the lead source is web and lead status is test scores. And also remember that we have two different leads, right? So if I try to click on create a new lead, I have an option to create international lead and also domestic lead, right? What if I want to see only international leads or students, right? Only international lead. What I can do is I can create a new list view, right? I can create a new list view that shows only international leads. So create new list view to display only international leads. How do you know which ones are international? Sometimes there could be a basic field on the lead record saying what type of lead that is. But in our scenario, we differentiate international versus domestic leads by their record type. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to go with a record type. That's what we will configure in the filter. So new list view, I'm going to say international leads. Okay. And click save. Now, how do I know which ones are international? Again, they are going to be defined by their record type. Here it says my leads, but I'm going to select all the leads, leads that belong to me and leads that belong to other users. That's why I'm going to select this option. And from there, I'm going to click done. So that filter is configured. And I have to add another filter, right? Another filter. So here, what I'm gonna need to do is I need to go and find the record type, lead record type, and equals to international, right? That's what we want to do, right? International leads. So you select your record type and click done. All right. So we have now selected international leads. Let me go to all my leads and make another one. For example, this lead is domestic student, right? Let me change the record type and make him international so that this record can also get displayed on that new list view. Go to international leads, and here it is, we have 2 students. My other requirement is create new list view to display international or domestic leads. Okay, there is or over here. All right, again, that is going to be defined by their filter. So let me go to list views, leads, new. The name is going to be international or domestic leads, and click save. Adjust this filter so that you select all the leads. Okay, click done. Add your filter. I'm going to say equals to, lead record type. Lead record type equals to. Now in this case, I'm going to select both values and click done and save. And now I want to show you one difference between this list view and the previous list view that shows only international leads, right? So we have 2 list views. This list view shows only international leads, and this one shows both. So when you have a list view that shows more than one record types, you cannot edit them. For example, you cannot edit the records while you are viewing them on the list view. So what does that mean? Usually you would see a pen icon over here to quickly modify the record. But here I don't see the icon. If I go back to this record type, this list view, you see when I hover over, I see this pen icon. Okay, I see that. See this over here. I see that. And this cannot be changed. This cannot be changed. This cannot be changed. But for whatever field can be changed, I see this pen, and I can quickly change the name for multiple records and then save. All right. This option is available only if your list view displays one record type. Okay. If the list view has more than one record types, then that option gets taken away. I want to mention one more thing about the filters. So let me modify this scenario where we were creating a list view to display leads whose status is test score and source is web, right? So here I have highlighted the word end, but sometimes you could also make it or. All right, you could also make it or. Let me copy this and go back to list view. We are creating lead list view, so that's why we will create, we will navigate to the lead list views. And by the way, I copied that long name and here it coded it, okay? It caught it over here because there is a character limitation on how many characters you can use for the list name. There's a limitation there. Sometimes you'll have to shorten the name and it's challenged sometimes. So for example, in also real projects, you will face that challenge. In that case, you'll just have to come up with meaningful name after you discuss it with your team. It says leads whose status is test score or source is web. So I could just change it like this. Lead status test score source web, something like that. And then we'll click on save. Let's modify this one to select all leads, click done, and add another one. So I'm going to say lead status equals test score, that is configured, and another one, lead source equals web, right? Click done. And then we have an option to choose to configure the filter logic. Click here. When you click here, it shows you 1 and 2, 1 and 2. What does that mean? That means we are displaying leads that meets both conditions, first condition and the second condition. What if I want to display a lead as long as it meets one condition? If the lead status is test score, I want to display it. I don't want to care about the lead source. Or if the lead source is web, I don't want to care about the test score. I just want to display that lead record. That's why it shows over here, or, right? Or. We're not interested in both conditions. We're interested in one condition. As long as one of those conditions is met, then we want to display that record. So that's why we can manually change it to or. All right? You can manually change it to or and click save. Now what happens is, look at these values. Let's close this out. We have several leads, 8 leads. This lead got displayed over here because of his test score. And this lead got displayed over here. His test score, his lead status is not test score, but his source is web. We don't see it here yet. Let's just go ahead and add that field. Lead source. Let's move it up a little bit and click save. Lead source, you see? Web. This lead status is not test score, but their source is web. That's why they got displayed. This guy doesn't have lead source, but he has a test score lead status. Their statuses are different because their source is web. That's why they got displayed here. That's how we sometimes will need to configure and or logic.